Hey everybody, welcome back to Goat and a Fox Talk About Movies. I'm Daniel.
And I'm Reynard.
And on this very special episode, we're talking about not one, not two, but three movies that have come out in the past month or so. And it is, this is actually Reynard's idea. I'll let him present it.
Yeah, so we were kind of tossing around thoughts for this kind of midsummer, not that one, season. It's been a little bit of a flat year. There have been some bright points we've talked about, Superman and Sinners and whatnot, but not a lot has really kind of stuck in my craw. But, we were kind of thinking on the periphery, Pedro Pascal is really having a banner year, so why not talk about Hot Pedro Summer?
There we go. So we present for you the Hot Pedro Summer Special, and we're going to be talking about three movies here, Materialists, Eddington, and Fantastic Four.
And I will also be campaigning for him to become my husband. He will understand why by the end of the time.
Well, I feel like the problem with that is that I'm actually running that campaign.
Oh, see, okay, well, here's where Eddington comes into play.
Here we go. So,
but anyway.
So this is Ari Aster's new movie, Eddington. Basic premise of this one. So it takes place May 2020 and follows this little sleepy New Mexico town. And there's tensions between the sheriff, who's like, oh, these masks are causing trouble, and the mayor, who is very much like, no, we need to have the masks on. He's trying to invite new tech investment into the community. The sheriff is not quite on board with that. And it's basically paints us as a microcosm of the tensions that were being escalated during this period.
Just notoriously the most normal time in recent history.
Right. And I have to be honest, I was right off the bat a little hesitant about returning to this thing that I don't want to think about for at least a few more years.
Right.
Mm-hmm. But I feel like, talking about it being kind of crazy, definitely not a normal time. I was like, Ari Aster would probably, bring a certain energy to that, because Ari Aster is not a normal filmmaker.
Right.
But I have to say, I did come out of this movie feeling rather conflicted, to say the least.
Yeah, this was a really wild ride in every sense of the term, and one that I just kind of wanted to get off by midway through. It is not God, I don't even know what to say. The cast is good. What they are given to work with is dicey and uneven. And as a tension piece, kind of as the film extends, he is really, really good at creating that sense of unease. But then he also wants to pontificate about things. And it's just okay, we gotta pick a lane and not go a have her cake and eat it too route, which was kind of where this went for me.
Yeah, I feel like the biggest problem with this is that, again, Ari Aster, and this is kind of a sliding scale on his movies so far, but he kind of works with a heightened reality.
Right.
Hereditary was fairly normal until the very end, when the shit is hitting the fan, and it's the demon stuff is bursting through the walls.
Mm-hmm.
And that felt like a very appropriate way to throw crazy stuff at the screen. Beau is Afraid is very consistently heightened reality. You get a sense we're seeing things through Beau's own viewpoint, and he sees the world in this very peculiar way, very he sees threats around every corner, behind every word, and that worked for that movie. But this one, I feel like Ari Aster went above and beyond. He went for the abstract in places that it didn't really fit to do that with.
Yeah, there are some elements to this film that feel so true to form of what it was like living through kind of the early lockdown stages, going to the grocery store and feeling not safe there perhaps, or just all of the crazy stuff around there. And then there are elements where it seems like he wants to have this grand statement about politics and things, and he kind of loses the script there, and it just becomes incredibly messy.
Right. We'll kind of throw a little spoiler thing here, because it's hard to talk about this without like getting into the events that go on. I'll defend the movie on one point, because I hear a lot of chatter online thinking about like, oh, this movie like praises anti-maskers and things like that. I don't think this movie has a particular like right-wing slant to it overall. Say overall, get to that in a moment, because main character of it is again the sheriff, played by Joaquin Phoenix. He runs against the mayor, and he through the movie is presented to be kind of a scumbag. Like his rationale for not using masks, like, well, there's no COVID here, but then he gets it, and as he like is getting the symptoms, he still isn't wearing a mask. And so okay, this guy just doesn't give a shit about anybody,
right? And he's like, you know, it's just like, I can't breathe,
right? You know, like he makes the choice to like try to slander his opponent with very severe accusations. He's like, oh, he's a rapist, and then the person he accused the mayor of raping was like, no, that's not true. And yeah, like through the movie he's shown to be a bad guy, and it kind of culminates when he shoots poor Pedro Pascal in his home, kills his son as well, and tries to cover it up, tries to pin it on other people, be like, oh, it's those darn protesters. Like, he's very clearly a scumbag in this movie.
Right. I mean, and like, I'm sorry, but when Pedro Pascal slaps you, you say thank you. You don't snipe him. Like, let's be real.
You say,
may I have another, sir?
Again, please.
And then he turned the Katy Perry music back on full blast. That scene was excellent. Joaquin Phoenix does a really... I think Joaquin Phoenix and Pascal are both excellent in this film. Again, like, I'm touchy on some, like, aspects of the, like, individual scene-to-scene things, but what I think Phoenix does such a good job of is, like you're saying, he's a scumbag, he's self-centered, but he's also a complete idiot. And the way that these campaign... he has his kind of mayoral announcement when he's kind of pissy and then ends up in the heat of the moment deciding he's, you know, announcing his candidacy, and then later on when he levels the accusations against Ted Garcia's, Pedro Pascal's character, you know, it's this rambling, incoherent just thing. It's not even really a speech. It's just something that you would, you know, when you're drunk and you're, you know, pissed off about something, you just kind of launch it off. And even to the point where his idiot, you know, cop / campaign assistant is like, wait, do you actually want me to release this onto the internet?
Yeah.
I think there's an incredible sense of this very cowardly evil to him. You know, evil seems a little bit extreme, but he's that kind of person that's going to, you know, piss and moan about a really misguided sense of like personal freedoms, which was such a, you know, a thing for like, I don't want to wear my mask, I'm not going to get vaccinated once that's available, etc. Is like, you're encroaching on my freedoms. So it's like, okay, that's not how that works. But he can't make eye contact. Is this very sort of like, I'm going to tell you off, but I know I'm in the wrong to a certain extent, so I'm going to just kind of cringe away and do it, but just sort of stare pointedly at the ground the whole time. And I think that's such a smart choice. And then it's countered with Ted Garcia as like kind of becomes this sort of wolf in sheep's clothing. It's like he's running this very shiny campaign. He's much more politically savvy. He has maybe the greatest small town TV campaign ad I've ever seen in my life. But he's also, you know, he is, like you're saying, pushing for that server center or whatever the thing for that AI company is supposed to be, and like,
right,
which is going to damage the community. So he's also shitty, just in a different way.
Right, you know, it's like, you know, the governor is like sending him like little gifts, like, hey, thank you for doing this for me. So it's like,
right,
you get the idea that there are ulterior motives. Like, even if he does genuinely believe that it'll help the community, there's also, you know, he's not, you know, forthcoming about accepting questions about it, that kind of a thing.
Exactly.
So like, and this is a part, because when the movie opened, there's a lot of stuff that's like, it's kind of like bringing up what was, you know, the hot topics of the day, the trending stuff that people were arguing about. At first, like, oh, Jesus Christ, there's 2.5 hours of this. But then it settles into like the second quarter of this movie goes through, and it turns into this drama where it's like the two of them are going back and forth on the campaign. And I was like, okay, like, I was kind kind of getting into it. And then, like I mentioned, he murders the mayor, tries to pin it on someone else. And, the nearby Pueblo authorities are also getting involved. And because he can't control them, they're starting to realize, hey, maybe this guy had something to do with it. And it becomes this thriller, the suspense thriller. And I was also on board for that. I was like, okay, okay, this is interesting. And then...
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah. No, I think there's an element of, like, it tees itself up to become this kind of paranoia thriller almost.
Right.
With all of these circumstances in the background as Joe Cross kind of comes undone mentally.
Yeah, it's like his cover-up is falling apart. He has to resort to, like, more and more drastic measures. Like, he pins it on, like, this deputy that he was getting along really well with. He's like, oh, maybe it was him. And then, and all this time, if he snaps in public or anything like that, it's going to go online. So, like, it's doing really well. And then the movie introduces Antifa. And this is how I know Ari Aster experienced 2020 through social media. Because, some of us had to go be essential workers and work in public even during COVID because people had to eat. And some of us worked in the food industry. Antifa is not a shadowy black ops organization. And they are presenting this movie as such. And this is what I was talking about, where the over-the-top Ari Aster stuff gets completely... like, it deflates so much of what this movie had been building for, at least in my opinion.
Yeah, I don't... Were they literally supposed to be Antifa? And when we're saying Antifa, we mean the right-wing conspiracy, like, take on it.
Yeah.
My read of it, and we know next to nothing about these people. We don't even see faces. We see a charter plane with, like, a cartoon logo of, like, a hand, like, grabbing a globe, and then, like, they've got all these, like, fuck Nazis patches and stuff, and blah 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 blah, and then, they're pursuing Joe Cross and inciting mayhem in Eddington. I thought it was more intended, and it's not communicated well at all. I thought it was supposed to be some kind of, like, false flag thing. I don't know who necessarily would be behind that. Maybe the gold magic carp, whatever the fuck that was called. Maybe, who the hell knows. But, like, I didn't think it was intended to be a direct, like, a literal embodiment. At least that's how I took it.
See, the thing is that, like you said, it's not communicated very well at all. Because I had the same thing in my mind as, like, maybe it's going to get revealed this was a false flag, kind of just show, like, how crazy things are getting, where it's just, like, you can't tell. Like, even if you point a camera at something, it's like, this is the next escalation of that, where things can just be faked. Like, I thought that's what they were going for.
Right.
But as a result, because there's no, like, payoff there, it really just kind of comes down to, oh, the audience can interpret it, which is, in my opinion, can't think of a less mean way to say this, kind of a cowardly way to portray it.
Yeah.
Because then it could be like, oh, it was really a right-wing false flag operation, but other people can watch the movie and be like, yeah, that was totally Antifa. That's what they're like.
Yeah, I think cowardly is a good term.
Yeah, because it's, and so, like, they said, like, they put, like, a burning cross. They put, like, this big statue of, like, oh, this is a white supremacist town, it's, evil town. They put, like, fire words that say, like, no justice, no peace, it's like no. And then they try to hunt down Joe Cross, shoot him, and they're, like, running through town. And then Joe Cross goes into a gun store and basically recreates the ending of First Blood.
Oh my god.
With, like, this oversized, like, machine, like, minigun thing. And at this point I was like, okay, this is just, like, all, like, the tension, the drama that I was, like, really feeling, it just kind of evaporated. I was like, okay, this is what we're doing.
Yeah, I mean, I think by the time that it was just, like, purely a Second Amendment power fantasy, I was not on board with the film, really. Like, it kind of set me on edge, not on edge nervous or whatever, but just put my teeth on edge. And then it finally gets to this point where it's like, okay, I'm just going to take it as a tension piece. And Ari Aster is very good at that. And, like, at the point when he's being pursued, and there's this real sense of danger to every single window, is of vulnerability. And then when he's, again, like reenacting Predator or something, and there's that like extended kind of the like, I don't even know, like 360 when he's like looking each way, and it almost becomes like a horror film. It's like, okay, like this is stupid, and I don't know where the hell this is coming from, but at least as a piece of visceral filmmaking, it works. And like the DP, Darius Kanji, who's got an incredible CV, like does a good job with that. But I had to divorce it completely from the circumstances of the actual movie in order to enjoy it on any level.
Yeah, like this is a well-made movie for sure.
Yeah, mostly.
Yeah, it's just like the ending, and then like he gets injured, and then he's okay. Well, he's not okay. He's He's not okay.
Yeah.
He's not okay.
He's very much not okay.
But
he's alive, I guess.
He's alive, but he's totally paralyzed. And then like, so he kind of automatically wins the race for mayor, even though like, I don't know, I feel like there would be a very more intense investigation into the murder there by like the state or whatever. He wins.
Yeah.
And then the data center gets built anyways. And I guess a reading of the ending here. So as he is paralyzed, he's kind of helpless.
Mm-hmm.
His mother-in-law, who's really into like the really wacky conspiracy theory rabbit holes, is like kind of speaking on his behalf, and she's like, oh, this data center will help us take down the evil government and all their conspiracies. And I guess you could argue that it's a parallel for a current president who is clearly physically unwell, being puppeted by like different interests.
What?
As long as he can remain standing.
I didn't get that reading at all. That wasn't insultingly obvious and blatant. I like groaned out loud when it got to that. I thought he was just gonna get offed or whatever, and that'd be like, you know, hard cut to the end or whatever. But yeah, I think the only through line in this film, like you're talking about, it's using like they can now take this guy and puppet him around and use it to enrich themselves to the detriment of everyone else in the city, right? Or the town.
Right.
And there is a through line of, I think like the only thread to the film, or not the only thread, but like the common thread of this film is about control. You know, Joe Cross and the use of vulnerable people to buy the powerful in various guises to manipulate them. Joe Cross is susceptible to social media doom scrolling. His wife is an incredibly vulnerable and, you know, mentally unwell person, and she falls under the prey of a religious cult leader, essentially, who's basically like Charles Manson or something almost.
Oh my god, yeah.
I don't know what the hell that was going for, you know. And then now we have this final iteration with a placid populace being, you know, used through this puppet figure at the head of government. So yeah, it's like that's kind of a thing that it's going at, but it's just got so much other plates spinning at the same time that it all doesn't quite mesh.
Right, because it's like, you know, if he's, you know, this kind of this puppet being, you know, piloted around, well then, you know, how did he get there? Because Antifa tried to kill him? Like, what is supposed to be the...
I guess. Yeah, he's now a hero, I guess, because he...
What's the metaphorical parallel there?
I'm kind of surprised they didn't try to do some kind of, like, Chaz thing. The living in Seattle, there was like a brief like Occupy. There was a block around Calendarson Park in the area.
Oh, I remember Chaz.
Right, and it was like
Capitol Hill Autonomous Zone, right?
Autonomous Zone, and then eventually the Capitol Hill Occupy protest, something like that. That was like again about the same time frame, and it was very much like the Black Lives Matter protest kind of catalyzed this very like intense involvement, and then clashes with the police. I'm like, it would have like, they do bring up the BLM stuff here, mostly because he wants to kind of have another punching bag, because, you know, 20 somethings who are a little bit like crazy about their activism and are very like passionate, but like are a little nutso in their terminology or whatever, is definitely just as bad as like assholes that don't want to do public health things to help other people. But there's your through line. You mash that up together, you get Antifa, this quote unquote Antifa people involved or something, and that way you coalesce elements of your story that are at this point disparate, and the BLM thing gets dropped entirely. It's just like, okay, like where are we going with any of this?
Right, like there's not really a resolution to like the community or anything like that. I guess, to be fair, we're still kind of dealing with the repercussions of all of that shit. Like, yeah, we're dealing with that.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's not, there's still, like, I mean, there's been this weird time dilation. Like, I was like, I can't believe it was 5 years ago, but it was also yesterday.
Right. So I think that, again, like, the movie, it started off, I was like, I'm not sure about this, but then it took something, I was like, okay, I was getting interested in it, I want to see where this goes, and then it just kind of fell apart in the last half hour, 45 minutes, and that was really disappointing to see. I was like, because I love, Hereditary, Midsommar, Beau's Afraid. I know that's a divisive one. I think that's a good one as well. This one was not a win for me.
Yeah, it's kind of getting to the point where it's feeling like he's creating these more and more and more ambitious, unwieldy projects, and that's like exciting theoretically, but obviously something like Midsommar is a very different story to what Eddington is aspiring to be, so like you can't take a one-to-one thing, but I think there's a certain economy to his first two features which allowed him to explore increasingly odd ideas in a way that still kept things focused and like communicated effectively, whereas here it's just starting to kind of feel like he's like standing on a soapbox and like flailing his arms, and I'm just like, I'm just gonna walk down the street now and your voice will slowly fade into the distance.
Yeah, it's he's still really good at like creating a very intense drama. Like he's good at doing that still. But the social commentary might need a little bit of work, right? Need scale it back a bit and think about what kind of wacky stuff you're putting where.
Yeah, I think there are the elements right there, the conflict between the two mayoral candidates as a proxy for kind of the country ripping itself apart during this time, like, and then if you pivot to the murder cover-up, like, as a psychological portrait, like, great. There's also 8,000 other things going on that I do not care about.
Right, it's... But I will say, like, from what I had heard of what you had said of it, what I heard online, I was bracing myself for a lot worse going into it. But at the same time, earlier this year, I had been hoping for a lot better too.
Okay, one thing, how did you take the sound mix specifically during crowd scenes or sequences when there's like multiple people in space together? I'm thinking especially of the Black Lives Matter protest when they are confronting the police.
I don't know, like, I thought it was all right. Like, I think during the Black Lives, like, I did, because I heard, like, it would kind of, like, drop off a little bit here or there, but I think it serves to kind of just heighten the overall sense of, like, a commotion is going on. Like, one big commotion is going on.
Yeah, I see that, but I think there's a difference between, I thought it was chaotic in a bad way. There's a way to have a conversation or an argument or, like, a layer where you can still tell what the thrust of the idea is, and this was just like the stream. I just don't quite know how to describe it, but it's just all these different things commingling in a way that I'm like, okay, am I supposed to be paying attention to this one thing? They're all so hot in the mix, and then I don't know. And then there's a couple conversations with the Cross family where they're like inexplicably on the other, like on two sides of a window, and you're like, why are we doing this? What is this right now? Like, you don't need to have this person be muffled outside the door, and I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know, like, I feel like he did it still for a certain effect, but I can see that the effect might be a little too out there. A little too...
I would call it inept more than out there.
Because, again, I feel like he was trying to be like, oh, like this...
Maybe it's just sitting in a weird part of the theater, I don't know.
Yeah, like, that didn't bother me too much. For me, it was just, like, again, the overall direction of the story just kind of really took a weird turn, and that's, for me, like, the biggest flaw of the movie. But yeah, was there any other thoughts about this one, or...
What did you make of the vagrant who's the first thing we see in the film and who implicitly gives Joe COVID. Like, I'm like, okay, is he supposed to be like literally the embodiment of COVID? Like, he comes into town and basically, he doesn't directly incite all of this, but he's like kind of this plague that gets introduced into this small community. I mean, he, you know, causes some of these things that seed the tension. It's like, okay.
I think that it's either that or just kind of like, I guess you could say an agent of chaos, where he's just like, oh, he just comes through with COVID. And it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, you know, because through the opening of the movie, Joe Cross is like, there's no COVID here. We're such a remote community. Like, COVID hasn't reached here. So why are we worrying about it so much? Mm-hmm. And this guy brings COVID through, like, brings the threat to the community.
Mm-hmm. He's just this like rot that is introduced, and also super compassionate portrayal of homeless people.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely, like I said, I was just like, yeah, his role was to kind of come through. And at first they're just like, oh, what is this guy doing here? But then, you know, Joe sees him and like he's broken into a bar. He's like, oh, all this stuff is tasting the same, and he's coughing, and you're like, oh no. Mm-hmm. Oh no, it's here.
I know what's happening next.
Yeah, and like, and again, like, it does kind of, that was a moment that did actually capture for me, because I live in a relatively small city, and so, like, you know, while, you know, the lockdowns had started, like, it hadn't reached our county at first, and I remember just that feeling of waking up to the headline of first COVID case recorded in Tompkins County. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh shit, it's here. It's here.
Yep. It's a little bit different being in the place where it was the first cases in the country.
Oh, yeah.
Up in Everett or whatnot. It's like,
Yeah, you're in Seattle. Like,
yay. I'm sick of it.
Like, they barely even knew what it was yet, and you're like,
great.
I remember it was like mm-hmm. February, January, because, like, you know, it was first starting to, you know, like, hey, there's this thing going around. And, you know, through like the whole decade leading up to this, there's always been like, oh, Ebola, whatever, blah, blah, blah. It's headlines for a month, and then
H1N1 and all that. Yeah.
Yeah. And then it kind of like, you know, fizzles away. I remember reaching out to you, and I was like, so is this going to be different? Do we need to worry about this one, actually?
Yeah, I have a friend who worked at the port at that time, and he was like, yeah, something's coming. I was like, great.
Oh, no.
Fun times.
But yeah, so that's Eddington. I want to switch gears and talk about...
In the mood for love.
So this one was probably like the saddest disappointment of the year for me so far. And I say that very specifically, disappointment. Mm-hmm. We've talked on this podcast a couple years ago, Past Lives, Celine Song's first movie. Mm-hmm. Absolutely incredible film. We both very much loved it. I think when we were talking about the Oscars that year, like, it was near the top of our list.
Yeah, I think that was pretty high for both of us.
Yeah. You know, it's like Past Lives, like, excellent movie, beautiful romance, a very spiritual feeling movie. And so when I heard that Celine Song was making another movie this year, and it had Dakota Johnson, Chris Evans, and a man of the hour, Pedro Pascal, I was like, oh, this is going to be great. It's going to be wonderful. And then I sat down in the theater and watched a glorified Hallmark movie.
There really is long and short of it.
It's like, oh, the suburbanite lady, middle-class suburbanite, is she going to end up with the perfect 10 out of 10 guy, or the working-class man who really understands her? It's like oh my God.
But see, this one's the like highbrow version, because 98% of the dialogue is over-intellectualized conversations about the differences between love and partnership that we get to rehash 800 times.
So you call it over-intellectualized? I call it fan fiction. So there is this trend in fan fiction that's been going around the past several years called therapy speak.
Okay.
And basically what this is people who are so afraid to write something potentially controversial or like anything like any kind of like drama or like paint any characters in a bad light.
Mm-hmm.
So instead they have characters, even characters who like in their canon are like very gruff people or like very like but whatever, speak and only exactly what they feel, precisely how they feel, in perfect terms to each other. And leaves no room for drama, because the root of drama is people make choices, they face the consequences, they say things they don't mean, they or like they have like different modes, things like that. That is like the basis for drama.
Sure.
And even with the plot summary that I gave, at least something like that could have like the ups and downs of a Hallmark movie. Like, but because...
Right.
Oh, go ahead.
No, you continue, make your point.
Because this movie has its dialogue written in this way, where every time somebody has a strong emotion, like, this is how I am feeling, and it is because of this, and then the response is, I understand how you are feeling, and I can completely sympathize with that. I will not stand in your way for whatever you might need to do. And there's no conflict in the movie!
Well, yeah, I think, like, for me, the issue with that type of conversation that just happens continually is more the fact that, like, as you're saying, it doesn't change, because, and we're obviously, spoilers here, this came out like a fucking month ago. Like, Dakota Johnson's character is the star at her matchmaking agency. She's kind of waffling about what she wants to do with her love, but then she receives news that a woman who she had paired with somebody was assaulted on a date, and that shatters her perception of her reality. If they had done anything truly meaningful with that, and like I say she loses her confidence, but the way that they do it is, it's literally as deep as what I just said. She loses her confidence. Done. When she's introduced, one of the first things we see is her, she's at a wedding of one of her arranged relationships. The bride is starting to think she might be getting cold feet. And so Dakota Johnson swoops in there. She's like, I need 5 minutes. And then she proceeds to give the most utterly unhinged, speech that saves the marriage, right before it would have potentially been cut off. Great. Okay. It's super corny and whatever. But like, if she loses that, like, or if there'd been a shift from that after she was like, holy shit, I'm questioning the very nature of what my work is. Okay, fine. But like, it doesn't do that. It just kind of it just sort of goes over a lane, but then keeps in the same direction.
Yeah, I actually totally forgot that plot point even happened. Because, there's like a little bit where it's like, oh, I'm mad that you set me up with this man who assaulted me. I hate you. But then they still like reconcile at the end, because the guy, he's like, oh, he comes back and he starts like ringing at her door, banging. And at first it's like, oh my God, like what's going on? And then they get to her. She's like, oh, the guy disappeared. Thanks for helping me. I'm not mad at you anymore.
Right.
And
I will say, I watched this film in the best possible way, and by that I mean there is a couple behind me, and they talked the entire time. They didn't understand the plot, which is very wonderful, but anything happens on screen, the one behind me goes, uh-oh, same tone, same intonation every time. We get to that scene where it's like, it's like, Dakota Johnson, come into my office, I have to talk to you about something, and like she's like her supervisor, whatever, gives her this bombshell revelation, utter silence, 3 seconds, uh-oh.
Oh, no!
And it was just like the most gauche, like, what the fuck moment. It was insane. Like, but that kind of level of reaction is about all I could get from anything in the film. And like you're saying, it all wraps itself up very cleanly. It's kind of one of my quote-unquote favorite things about rom-coms or romantic movies is exploring the degree to which these movies normalize behavior that is completely sociopathic. Like, if you think for 38 seconds about Love Actually or Sleepless in Seattle or any of the, You've Got Mail, any of this, like, like half the things they do are crazy if they were real people and not like movie protagonists. And this movie comes up with some real zingers. Like, you know, this woman is basically treated like a plot point. The fact that her story is completely sidelined could be a commentary on like Dakota Johnson's character being so sheltered from reality if it had been handled differently, but it's not. She's just a little plot beat to create the illusion of tension. And then like her and Chris Evans just go and crash a wedding. You're like, great, hope you paid for the catering, assholes.
Oh yeah, they go upstate, they just go to a wedding and they just like, yeah, we'll grab a plate. Like, those services charged by the plate.
Yep.
They better be paying their way. I swear to God.
They had a bottle of booze that was not comped. They had their dinner. Utterly unhinged behavior.
Yeah, it's... The more I think about this movie, the more I dislike it. What did I rate this on Letterboxd? I might actually take it down a half star now that I'm talking about it. What did I... Come here. Again, just such a disappointment, because, again, I loved Past Lives.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they have this at a 6 out of 10. I'm going to put this a 5.
I mean, I think we should allow space for our filmmakers to have missteps. Like, this is clearly in a similar... She's clearly very interested in these kinds of stories about the nature of relationships and the ephemeral quality of that and the kind of uncertainties and insecurities about that. But, like, this is just explored on such a more superficial level than that earlier film.
Yeah, like... I guess like it is still like, you know, like the acting's good, the, you know, like it's shot well enough. There's this one part where there's this interesting like passing of time where like as they're having a conversation, like each cut it takes place at a different restaurant, and it is kind of like a subtle way to show the passage of time there.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting because Dakota Johnson and Pedro Pascal are like, they're like, she's like, I'm gonna go on one date with you and that'll be it. And then like that is a very slick thing, so it doesn't really show its hand, and it's not until like probably about 2 or 3 restaurants deep that you maybe even really clock it. But it does suggest, no, we are going on multiple dates. But since they're having one conversation, it suggests that the depth of this relationship isn't going anywhere. It's just kind of staying in line, which is maybe the biggest cell phone the film accidentally perpetrates against itself.
Yeah, it's
I also really liked the scene when the uh-oh happens. They have a conversation, and then at some point it like kind of reverses so that we're looking basically toward Dakota Johnson, and it's like a wide with like, there's one of those kind of weird, like I'm in an interior office, but I have like a window looking into a common space. And then there's this they have celebrations every time like a match, like they actually get married or engaged or whatever. And so you see these group of her coworkers come in and they're celebrating that. And then they start to kind of invade the office space during this very tense and like delicate conversation, and like all of a sudden this world that she'd been experiencing is now separate to her, and then when it gets like inserted into this moment, it becomes more like shrill and annoying than celebratory. Like there are things here, but it just doesn't really connect.
Fine, Celine, I'll let you keep your 6 out of 10. I'll let you keep that. But yeah, it's like, I don't even have that much more to say about it. It's just... No,
it's pretty cut and dry. I will say, so the play that Chris Evans performs in, like his character performs, is a Celine Song like project. I don't know if it ever like, it was Tom and Eliza. I found the synopsis and my God. Tom and Eliza. Tom's mother and father made love. Tom was born. Tom grew up. Tom entered this restaurant. Tom is on a date with Eliza. Eliza's mother and father made love. Eliza was born. Eliza grew up. Eliza entered this restaurant. Eliza is on a date with Tom. Tom and Eliza is a play about two people marching relentlessly towards the future. Like,
okay.
No. No, thank you. Great job.
No, nice try, but I don't think so. You're not tricking me and going to play that easily.
Well, do you want to relentlessly march toward the next film?
Let's do it. I have to say, Michael Giacchino did a pretty good theme on this movie.
For the main idea being like one like pitch like done 4 times, I really noticed it a lot. Giacchino, I'm super divided on. I feel like he can phone it in sometimes, but I had a lot of like fun. I was surprised by how much fun I had with the score, which follows with how much I was surprised by how well I enjoyed the movie itself. I had very little hope for this, but, you know.
Like, in this video, we're talking about 2 A24 movies and a Marvel movie. And the Marvel movie is by far and away, I think, the best of the bunch. This year is just insane.
Is Cape shit back?
Oh, it's so fucking back, baby. Yeah, Fantastic Four First Steps. I had a really good time with this one.
Yeah, it's just an enjoyable thrill ride that, like, understands we don't really need to be handheld through another origin story. You don't need any of that. Let's just focus on this take on the characters, and let's focus on this sort of interpretation of a specific world.
Yeah, and this feels like the first time in a long time that Marvel has sat down and said, okay, we cannot coast off of the goodwill anymore that we had built up. We need to actually knuckle down and really try here. Mm-hmm. And they did. It feels like, there's no callbacks to other movies. There's none of that. It is its own thing. It is starting from scratch. And I think it built something that I want to come back and see more of. Mm-hmm. And again, that is not something I've said about a Marvel movie or Marvel property in a long, long time. Thunderbolts was okay earlier this year. Thunderbolts was pretty good.
Yeah, Thunderbolts was good too. That was good.
But just something about this. I think what really won me over this movie is its aesthetic. Mm-hmm. It has, again, that retro future kind of vibe there. And I kind of do a comparison, this comparison a couple times through this discussion. But the other big superhero movie out right now, Superman. Mm-hmm. And it's a very interesting kind of dichotomy between them, because Superman is about somebody trying to stay good in a world that is broken. Mm-hmm. Whereas in Fantastic Four, it's a bit more like a fantastical world. Like they say at the beginning of the movie, this isn't the Earth as we know it, which is where most of the MCU takes place, which is just like, it's our world, but with this stuff kind of going on in the background.
Right.
Whereas here, feels very different. And what really sells that for me is that there's a lot of movies that'll be like, we see this a lot with stuff that invokes 80s nostalgia, where it's like, oh, here's a scene. Mm-hmm. It's the 80s. Look how much the 80s it is. Okay, back to the normal set for the rest of the movie. But with this one, like the set designs, the prop designs, just the way things look, the way things feel throughout the whole movie has this aesthetic to it. And it feels like we're watching a fantastical world, which is what I always love to see.
Mm-hmm. I'm like, just give me a monorail and I'm happy.
Well, guess what? Batman Begins had you covered there, I guess. And so like that in itself carried a lot of the movie for me. But also I really like this team. I haven't seen the 2005 incarnation of Fantastic Four, either of those. Mm-hmm. I did see the 2015 Fantastic Four.
Oh, good. Say that again.
Shut up. The less said about that version, the better. I don't want to revisit that right now in my mind. But I feel like with this one, I watched it and I remember thinking to myself, was it really this hard to do this?
Apparently Galactus is supposed to be a big space cloud, so they fucked that part up.
There's just a lot of things in this that I like the way they adapted. With Galactus, actually, they found this really good compromise where he still has like the comic design, but in order to have a more personal confrontation with him near the end, so they kept like that design, but in order to have him be a smaller size so they can still like interact with him and fight him and all that, he connects like this giant world engine thing that drills into the planet. Mm-hmm. And I think that was a good kind of compromise there.
Peter Jackson's like shaking his fist. Portal engines, whatever the hell that was called.
Go ahead.
I think I've seen the 204 like young Griffa, then Chris Evans and Jessica Alba. I think. Like, I saw them, like, I think I saw them on, like, a band trip, you know, as the Lord intended, on one of those tiny, like, 5x8 charter bus monitors, like, 5 rows in front of me, so I'm not going to count that. The only thing I have seen was, for some god unknown reason, we had, like, a DVD box set of, there was a Fantastic Four cartoon series that ran for a couple of seasons, I think in the 90s, or maybe the late 80s, probably the 90s, and this felt very of a part with that, where it's, like, the weird cosmic stuff, and it's more kind of, like you're saying, like, retro-futuristic, like, throwbacky, and so I was like, okay, I understand where we're going with this.
Yeah, like, I don't know, there's something very comforting about this being a world where things just seem to be going a lot better. It's like, you know, they, like, all the threats they faced, like, oh, a giant monster emerged from the sewers. Oh, the civilization of mole men has emerged, but, you know... Sue Storm is able to broker peace between them and the surface world, and she's able to convince all the nations of the world to demilitarize. Like, they get a lot done in the 4 years that they...
To get a shitload done, and even then, like, even when they're, like, threatened by Galactus, they all come together as the entire planet, and there's at no point does it pull, like, you know, like a Don't Look Up or something where they get self-sabotaged because selfishness prevails or whatever. Like, everyone comes together and they make sacrifices because they're inspired by the Fantastic Four.
Why didn't the mayor in Eddington just become a super stretchy man to inspire everybody? Is he stupid? But yeah, like, you know, again, that's just, it has that sense of, like, I don't know, comic book wholesomeness that has been missing for a while, and to see that roaring back with this one, and again, Superman, even if they are, like, very different kind of things, because again, this feels like a world that's on track to utopia, basically.
Right.
I don't know, just like it feels nice to go into one of these superhero movies and not get, you need to do better, Senator.
Right. Oh, God.
Also, the team is really good here. I really like their dynamic as, like, characters kind of bouncing off of each other in different ways. They have these different relationships with each other. One of the things that I do appreciate a lot is that, this happened with the Fantastic Four that I saw. I think this has happened a few times. Because oftentimes it feels like you have, you know, Johnny Storm, he's the hot-headed one. You have Fire, right? The Thing, he clobbers stuff. Sue Storm, she's a woman, and Reed Richards, he's the smart one. What I liked in this movie is that it showed how each of them are, like, the smart ones in their own way. And it's just that Reed Richards is more focused on, like, oh no, like, I have to come up with plans for everything. Like, it's not just like, oh, I'm the smart one, it's I'm the guy who is overthinking through everything so much that it becomes a detriment to myself even.
Right.
Because they each have their own competencies. Like, Ben, he's able to, like, he's really good at the pilot and the controls. He knows how to, like, calculate things. He's like, oh, we can go around this black hole here, but it's gonna be kind of risky. Johnny is able to single-handedly decipher an alien language with only one sentence. And Sue Storm is, like, she's able to, she has those, like, interpersonal skills especially, and she's able to be like, hey, let's get, like, she has, like, statecraft. She's able to convince people very thoroughly, very effectively. I don't know, like, that made it a much more interesting dynamic, I think.
Right. And it centers the conflict as more of a interpersonal one. Like,
this is Daniel from the future. We're about to get into spoilers. Here's our warning.
There's obviously the Galactus is going to eat the planet, but he sets, like, an ultimatum that's, like, almost reverse Superman, where it's like, well, if you sacrifice this one baby, I'll spare the planet. And that creates rifts, at least temporarily, within this group because of the choices that they have to make and the perceived implications of whether or not they choose to go along with that. And I think that it gives, like, I think Reed Richards has this real, like you're saying, he has to overthink all these things almost, and there's a insecurity that Pedro Pascal gives him that I think is really interesting to that regard.
Yeah, that, like, honestly, that was a really good way to make the stakes personal, because, at the beginning, so Reed Richards, Sue Storm, they are expecting a baby, and Reed's kind of like, oh, what is this baby gonna to be like? You know, is it going to be, you know, kind of like mutated like us? Or watch, because I said that, someone's gonna be like, oh, they're not mutants. That's a separate thing. Don't you know? That's X-Men, you moron. Anyways, you know, it's like, is it going to be super powered like us? Will it just be a normal human baby? And Galactus like, this baby will be very powerful. Give it to me and I will spare this planet. And he says like, you know, like, because he's like cursed with this hunger to go like just devour worlds. And he's like, I will send my hunger into this child. It will absorb my hunger. I can be free and I can rest. But then their baby's going to become a monster. And obviously, like, no, that's crazy. And when they get back to Earth, they like, you know, this was the price that he asked for. And, you know, people are like, what? Why didn't you just, you know, give up your baby? And I thought it was an interesting moment where, you know, because throughout all this, Mr. Fantastic, like, all his spare time is like, oh yeah, like I've been inventing teleportation. I do children's science education. In my free time, I track down like 47 criminal gangs through the city and they're doing the sting operation tonight. Like he devoted everything of himself for the good of humanity. And when you do that, then people say, well, why are you drawing the line here now when so much more is at stake?
Right. When it's just like the trolley problem, basically.
Right. And like, you know, all these times before, you've been happy to take the trolley for us. What do you mean you're not doing it this time? And I thought that was like an interesting kind of angle that I could pick out there.
But then it doesn't dwell, like that could have gotten so, not to bang on this drum again briefly, but that could have gone full Snyder, right? Angry mobs.
Yeah.
We hate the Fantastic Four now, right? But like then too, like to your point about her kind of ability to create like harmony or whatever in truce and stuff, like she's able to kind of go out and explain their situation and kind of put it into a more positive light about unification rather than sort of driving a wedge.
Yeah, like I like that line she gave her. She's like, well, it's like I'm not going to choose you over my baby, but I'm also not going to choose my baby over you. We're all getting out of this.
Right, exactly.
Like in retrospect, it is kind of funny how like pretty much they're like, because at the press conference they're like, no, we didn't give up our baby to save the planet, and then like 24 hours later they have to like, for clarification, we're not giving up the planet either, okay? But yeah, like it is, and like you said, it could have been a very much like Zack Snyder. It was like we got like 30 minutes of people like spout like Neil deGrasse Tyson talking about like, oh, what does this mean for the state of our species and yada yada yada. It's like keeps it pretty lighthearted, but at the same time you can kind of see like, I don't know, again, it didn't mess with the tone, it didn't mess with the vibe. I will say like one of the things I do wish they had done is that, because again, it's doing all this interesting stuff where it's like the Fantastic Four have given up like so much, and then this like something is finally asked of them that goes too far, and you know they have to grapple with not paying that price while still trying to figure out the problem. And I do wish the ending of the movie is still like a fun set piece and everything. Like it still has like some cool stuff going on. You get to see them all use the powers. Like whoever your favorite Fantastic Four character is, they're gonna get a time to shine here. I do still wish, because it does kind of fall back on like the Marvel, we gotta solve things by punching the giant monster.
Punching fixes everything.
No, I don't know, I would have liked to have seen like a little bit more of like, you know, grappling with, you know, their responsibilities. You know, maybe those responsibilities might change in the wake of all of this. Like just like a little bit more of a clear through line and payoff there.
I mean, their ultimate responsibility is to protect the baby, and by the baby I mean Herbie the robot.
My God, I love Herbie. That's like the sweet little robot. I love him so much. Just like look at this little cassette tape eyes, and the way like the plugs on his face like smile or frowned between cuts. That was amazing. I love Herbie. There's a part at the end where like, you know, Herbie's like protecting the baby and Galactus just like grabs him out of the building. No.
It's like, no.
Not Herbie and the baby too.
Fuck the baby. I will say the fact that they thought they would be able to just like do like a shell game, just swap out of the baby is wild.
Yeah. Hey, worth a shot, you know? They're like, well, it's so tiny and he's so big, maybe you won't notice until he's in...
It's like, it's all the same. It's too late.
But no, yeah, like, it's a lot of fun. It feels fresh. It's the first time in a long time I feel I can say that. I think this might be my favorite of the MCU movies since the first Guardians of the Galaxy, actually.
Wow, that is high praise.
Yeah, because, like, again, the spectacle of Infinity War and Endgame, and even some stuff through the past few years that I have liked out of the mountain, the deluge that we've had to experience. There's been like some good stuff that I have really liked, but a lot of that is still based off of, oh, this is a character that you saw previously, we're building off of that. And what this and the first Guardians of the Galaxy had in common is that they started from zero and built something very fun, very engaging, and I really appreciate that. And I hope that, if anything, I'm kind of sad that the next time we see a Fantastic Four is going to be another Avengers movie, because I just want to hang...
God, it's going to be an Avengers.
I kind of just want to hang out
this time
in this world more.
Yeah.
Or this like fun little world, like, you know, this crazy stuff happens. I like that this is very much a sci-fi adventure. It's just like, yeah, this is their... taking the rocket to space. They're gonna go on this alien ship. They gotta ricochet around a black hole. Just like, you know, we're gonna try to build like these big teleporter things. All that sci-fi stuff, I eat it up. It's awesome.
It's just like a nice to have them pivot to something and be forced to kind of stand on their own feet rather than just sort of point to IP and be like, remember that?
Yeah, you know, there's been quite the turnaround between I forgot what's it called, Captain America, Red Hulk movie, and also Pedro Pascal. It's Mr. Fantastic, yes please.
I mean, look, if Dakota Johnson's not gonna go on the trip to Iceland, I'm right here. There are alternatives. You can pivot.
There we go. But yeah, anything else that you can say about Fantastic Four here?
In rapid fashion, like just a couple things I have to get off my chest. Like I thought Julia Garner did a good job as the Silver Surfer. Like I think her physicality was interesting, and they kind of gave her a little bit of something to do insofar as, like, you know, the Fantastic Four can inspire the people of Earth to come together and work together to, you know, well, save their own hides, but they can also, she is the character who's dealing with kind of this extended guilt, and she can kind of be inspired by them as well. What I did not need was the flashback scene of her and like on the beach in like a dress that she got from Anthropologie's bargain shelf or something. It was just very odd to me. I didn't need it. I don't think that you could still get the gist. But yeah, there we go, I guess. And I think this was like the first thing I texted you afterwards, but I could not get it out of my head. But I feel so bad. But Paul Walter Hauser as Mole Man just looks like the baby JD Vance memes.
Oh no.
And I clocked that in the first scene that he showed up, and like every time he came back, I was like, I can't do this right now.
I would say like that's the greatest flaw of the movie. The mole people should have been actual moles. Huge missed opportunity. Horrible movie. Kevin Feige, get fired. Give me my mole people.
Wow. Need oversight here.
Yeah.
It is pretty much cheating to use Natasha Lyonne in your New York movie to be shorthand for like, this is New York.
This is New York, baby. That's not a New York accent. I don't know what.
That is not a New York accent.
I don't know what that accent was. Ignoring that, thank you so much for joining me to talk about all these movies tonight, Rainer.
Yeah, I mean, I'll always talk about Pedro Pascal for a tiny fraction of the toll.
And thank you all for joining us here. If you want to see more of us, I'm Daniel Goldhorn on YouTube.
And I'm Raynard /cinema on Tumblr.
And we'll see you all next time. You take care.
Bye.